So, we always love to take a deep dive into the sources you send our way. And, today's topic is no exception. It's, something that you flagged as being really concerning and that we should dig into today. And that's this whole thing with the rising tide of nitrous oxide misuse.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah, and it might seem on the surface like it's a relatively harmless substance,
Yeah, laughing gas, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just laughing gas, right?
Yeah.
But the information that you sent suggests a much darker reality.
Yeah. It's
indeed.
It's a lot more complicated than that, and there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Right.
So we've been looking at excerpts from this document called Eingefipter text.
Yeah.
Which seems to provide a lot of background and context on this, and then also alongside some pretty startling findings from the Journal of Medicine, Surgery, and Public Health. Specifically an article by R. Andrew Yockey. And what these sources highlight, collectively is really how a substance with, legitimate, albeit somewhat limited, applications is increasingly becoming a serious public health issue.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So our goal with this deep dive, is to really get under the skin of this trend. Why is something so often dismissed as just laughing gas now being linked to, such a disturbing increase in deaths?
Right.
We want to understand the scope of the problem, the factors that are fueling it, the real dangers that are involved, and do it all in a way that informs you without overwhelming you.
Yeah. So let's maybe start with this statistic that's been that really grabbed our attention.
Sure.
This significant jump in deaths.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the central point that both sources really drive home is that deaths related to nitrous oxide misuse are escalating dramatically.
Yeah.
And, and this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's occurring despite increased warnings from health authorities, including, that recent alert from the FDA. Yeah, I remember seeing something about that.
Yeah.
And, leading the charge in trying to really understand this trend are researchers like Andrew Yockey at the University of Mississippi and Rachel Hoopsick from the University of Illinois.
Right.
And, Yockey's quote here really, I think, underscores the severity of it.
Yes.
Noting that. But what we're also seeing is a rise in hospitalizations and poisonings and in deaths.
Right.
It paints a picture far beyond, just sort of like casual recreational use.
It certainly does. It signals that the consequences are becoming increasingly severe. And to put some numbers behind this, the 2023 National Survey on Drug Use and Health indicated that over 13 million people in the U.S. have misused nitrous oxide.
Wow.
But what's truly alarming is the CDC data showing that deaths from nitrous oxide poisoning jumped by over 110% to 2019 and 2023.
That's a huge jump.
Yeah, it's a really significant increase in such a short time frame.
Yeah, that's a shocking acceleration. And Hoopsick's research, really emphasizes the potential for this to worsen.
It does.
While the absolute number of deaths might still be lower than with some other substances, she points out that the rate of increase has been exponential, which suggests, we could be looking at a much larger problem if this trajectory isn't addressed.
Yeah, if it isn't addressed, absolutely. And what's particularly insidious, perhaps, is this seemingly innocuous nature of how this gas is often encountered.
Right.
It's commonly known as whippets, referring to the small canisters.
Oh, yeah.
Used in whipped cream dispensers.
Sure.
But as the FDA has been warning, repeated inhalation carries some really serious long-term risks.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're talking about the potential for asphyxiation, the formation of blood clots, frostbite to the respiratory system due to the rapid cooling of the gas nerve damage, leading to numbness and even paralysis and tragically irreversible brain damage.
Gosh, it's almost paradoxical, isn't it? Something, associated with lightheartedness, laughing gas, can lead to such devastating, physical consequences.
Right.
And a critical aspect that I think both of our sources highlight here is that, sets it apart from many other substances with sort of similar dangers is the largely unregulated nature of nitrous oxide.
Yeah, that's a key distinction.
Yeah.
As your Eingefipter text likely touches upon, and as Yockey and Hoopsick emphasize, the ease of access is a major contributing factor.
Right.
You can go online
Yeah.
and, find a plethora of results.
Yeah, it's not like this isn't some hidden corner of the internet.
Yeah.
It's readily available through mainstream online retailers,
Yeah.
often presented in these brightly colored canisters with enticing flavors.
Yeah, blueberry mango, even a bomb pop flavor.
Yeah.
Yockey's almost incredulous observation, really sticks with you.
Yeah.
He says, I really doubt anyone is buying flavored nitrous oxide to make blueberry mango whipped cream.
Right. And the fact that these things can be delivered to your doorstep within days really underscores just how easily obtainable this stuff is.
Yeah, it is.
It's marketed under the guise of a culinary ingredient, which provides this sort of legal framework. But the reality of its widespread recreational misuse is hard to ignore.
Yeah, if we consider the broader context here, Hoopsick makes a really thought-provoking comparison, I think, to the marketing strategies employed by big tobacco in the past.
Oh, yeah.
The idea of targeting younger demographics with appealing flavors, vibrant colors, and a seemingly playful presentation appears to be mirrored in how nitrous oxide is being marketed.
Yeah.
It's a strategy that can effectively downplay perceived risks and increase appeal among young people.
Yeah, it's a chilling parallel, isn't it?
It is.
And it seems like there's a deliberate effort by sellers to minimize the perceived dangers, echoing tactics that we've seen before with big tobacco, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Hoopsick's research indicates that despite clear evidence of the significant dangers of nitrous oxide poisoning, these risks are very often ignored or trivialized.
They are.
You rarely encounter, prominent health warnings from sellers.
Yeah.
Which undoubtedly contributes to the public perception of it as just, a relatively harmless party drug.
Right.
Yeah, and that normalization, I think, is deeply concerning from a public health perspective.
It is.
It
is.
And the researchers are also rightly focusing on the significant influence of social media.
Oh, absolutely.
In this evolving landscape.
Yeah.
The sheer ease with which young adults can discover and view videos depicting the inhalation of nitrous oxide across various online platforms is a major factor in shaping perceptions and potentially encouraging use. And Yockey's specific worry about high school and college-aged individuals encountering these videos and then being able to legally purchase these fruit punch flavored tanks is particularly troubling.
It is.
It creates this false sense of security and might even normalize experimentation due to the easy accessibility and the seemingly casual and even celebratory way its use is often portrayed online.
Yeah.
And all of this really underscores the urgent call from both Yockey and Hoopsick for policy-level interventions.
Right.
Hoopsick specifically points to the current lack of guardrails on who can sell this, who can buy it, and how it's marketed. It's a largely unregulated environment, and the evidence strongly suggests that this lack of oversight is a significant driver of this escalating problem.
Yeah, it really is.
And the situation appears to be incredibly dynamic. Yockey notes the rapid emergence of new brands online.
Yeah.
Often with, very fast delivery options.
Right.
His concluding thought, really encapsulates the dangerous ingenuity at play here. He says what they're doing here is very ingenious, but it's also incredibly dangerous.
It is.
And, all of this alarming detail is further explored in their publication in the Journal of Medicine, Surgery, and Public Health, which you can find with the provided DOI.
Right. So to bring all of this into sharp focus for you, the key takeaways are indeed stark. We are witnessing a significant and worryingly rapid increase in deaths associated with nitrous oxide misuse. This surge is being fueled by the combination of easy accessibility due to the current lack of robust regulation, coupled with marketing tactics that appear intentionally designed to attract younger individuals while downplaying the very real and potentially severe health consequences.
Right.
The long-term risks are significant, and the role of social media in normalizing and even encouraging its use cannot be overlooked.
Right. So it leaves us with a crucial point to ponder, considering these historical parallels with other public health challenges, such as, the long and complex fight against big tobacco.
Right.
What innovative strategies extending beyond traditional regulatory measures might prove effective in addressing this, swiftly evolving nitrous oxide situation.
Yeah.
How do we navigate this delicate balance between individual liberties and safeguarding public health? And what responsibilities should online platforms and retailers bear in this context?
Yeah, those are all really important questions.
It's a multifaceted challenge.
It is.
And we hope that this deep dive has provided you with a clearer understanding of these concerning trends and the urgent questions that they raise.
Yeah, we hope so too.
So thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.